It's such a thrill for me to work with these people. I mean, these are legends, and thank God a few of them are still with us to share these wonderful memories of that time. Our next speaker is a noted playwright and author whose award-winning play Marilyn, Mom and Me outlines his mother actress Eileen Heckert's time of co-starring with Marilyn in Bus Stop. I'd love to introduce to you now Luke Yankee.
Thank you, Greg. Yes, the way Jane has her wonderful Marilyn dress, I have my Marilyn tie. Some of you can check out later on with lots of photographs of my mother and Marilyn and my brothers on the set of it's got the French poster on it for Arrête d'autobus. So, as Greg mentioned, I've written a play about my mother and her intense friendship with Marilyn during the shooting of Bus Stop. And to the day my mother died, she could never talk about Marilyn without bursting into tears. And some of you who may remember her as an actress, she was famous for playing these tough, hard-boiled, chain-smoking kind of women, and that's pretty much who she was. So the fact that someone would affect her in that way was very unusual. And I didn't know anyone else who affected her in that way. And so I remember at parties when I was young, people would say, Eileen, what was it like working with Marilyn? No, I don't want to talk about Marilyn. She was a pain in the ass. And so, no, Eileen, come on, tell it. So if people would really press her and she would really start telling these stories, as I said, within a matter of minutes, she would be sobbing. So I heard all these stories piecemeal. And so with the help of Greg, a few years ago, he suggested some of the best Marilyn books to look at, some of the best biographies. And I managed to piece together what I didn't know of the story. There wasn't a great deal, but again, I realized that the year before Marilyn shot Bus Stop, she had taken the year off to study with Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio, as I'm sure many of you know. And she became the poster child for method acting, which, as I'm sure also that you know, is where one must feel everything organically. And since my mother was playing Marilyn's best friend, Marilyn was determined to make my mother her best friend. And that made my mother very uncomfortable, because she's like, okay, who's this starlet who's kind of glomming onto me and won't leave me alone? But ultimately, they wound up really bonding. And what I realized through my research and with Greg's help is that because of the fact that they were both adopted, neither of them, for all that they both achieved, ever really felt like they deserved a place at the table. And also, at the time, many people consider Bus Stop one of Marilyn's greatest roles. And at the time, she was certainly arguably the biggest star in the world, and yet she wanted what my mother had. She wanted a stable marriage, she wanted children, and she wanted to be respected as a legitimate actress. So the two of them, again, developed this very, very strong bond for that period, and my mother was present for her 30th birthday. And one of their nightly rituals is that Marilyn had the top floor suite at the hotel, and my mother's room was one floor below. And all of these studio types were constantly sending Marilyn elaborate gift baskets with oranges and grapefruits and the like. They were out on location in Phoenix shooting the rodeo scenes. And so Marilyn, one of the nightly rituals is that my two older brothers were little boys at the time. And Marilyn would take the grapefruits and oranges out of these gift baskets, and she would go out onto the balcony and call down to my brothers, and she'd say, Mark, Philip, you want to play catch? And these two little boys would come running out on the balcony, all excited, and Marilyn would take the grapefruits and oranges and throw them, play catch with my brothers on the balcony below. But of course, at ages 2 and 4, they weren't very good catchers. So my mother would be in the other room on the phone with my father back in Connecticut, and she'd say, oh, for God's sake, Marilyn's playing catch with the boys again. And guess who's going to have a raggedy ass down at the pool at 2 a.m. picking up all those grapefruits and oranges? But she certainly didn't hold that against her. And one of the things that I also learned is that ultimately what these two women wanted and never really felt that they had was to feel loved and honored and respected. And isn't that what we all want? And I'm very proud of the fact, and you're one of the first people I've been able to actually tell this to, that the play Marilyn Monroe and Me is going to get its world premiere at the International City Theater in Long Beach. It'll play for 3 weeks starting on Valentine's Day of 2024, it's about a year and a half from now. I'd love to see some of you there. I'm directing it, so I'll be at every performance. And I just want to thank all of you for letting me be here, and of course Craig. And not only did Marilyn deeply and profoundly impact my mother's life, but because of this play and the research that I've done on her, she's deeply impacted mine. Thank you all so much.